All right, let's talk a little bit about quarterbacks. Tennessee loses Nico. We'll talk about a possible Big 12 quarterback maybe jumping over to backfill for Tennessee. I've spoken with multiple people in and around that program, and what I've asked, hey, who is Tennessee's quarterback two? And all they've told me is, I don't know, but quarterback one is not on the roster right now. Just quick thoughts on Nico, though, before we go on to talk about Big 12 stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we'll get to Sam Leavitt, Avery Johnson, Rocco Becht, all being possibly in the conversation for Tennessee to poach from the Big 12. But as far as the situation with Nico goes, I think this proves, and I mentioned this a lot on my show, that the era of the transfer portal has changed to the point where the transfer portal does not exist. This is like NFL free agency, but on steroids plus some. And the reason I say that is because even in free agency in the National Football League, there are restricted free agents, or there are contract stipulations where one guy can only go to this team in the event that the other team gives up draft pick considerations or money, or there are all kinds of ways that they police the free agency in the NFL and rules put in place. In college football, if I'm Nico or I'm Tennessee, I, the player, can unenroll, can leave. The portal's not even open right now. And Tennessee can look at a player and say, you don't have a spot here. West Virginia just cut north of 25 players from their football roster in preparation for possible roster cuts that come down from the federal government. What we're looking at in college football right now is NFL free agency, but with less regulation. So if you're a player and you want to go play somewhere else and want instant eligibility, don't even enter the portal. Just unenroll from the university, re-enroll somewhere else, and take your NIL deal. And by the way, if you're Rob Wright, the basketball player at Baylor, and you've signed a 2-year contract on an NIL deal, that contract doesn't really exist. They can't make you play at a school. They can't handcuff you to the bench or to the field or to the court or to the rim or to the ball. They can't. All you got to do is leave. The portal doesn't exist. It's a fugazi at this point, and Nico's move proves that even further with Tennessee, that you can kind of do whatever you want.
Some thoughts that the Big 12 may lose a quarterback to Tennessee. Do you have not necessarily inside information, but do you have a gut on this? Like, yes or no, Tennessee has a starting quarterback that played in the Big 12 last year when they kick off the season?
Yeah, I'm gonna go no, but it's a very loose and it's not a very confident no. And here's the reason why: Sam Leavitt, Avery Johnson, Rocco Becht. Those are the guys that are being thrown out there. And TJ, I want to go back to what you said. Tennessee donors, Tennessee sources, they are mentioning how QB1's not on the roster. They're going to go find their dude. They're going to go find a guy who will fit the brand, who's better than Nico, a kid that led them to the playoffs last year. They need somebody better than that. Sam Leavitt, an elite quarterback. Avery Johnson, elite quarterback. Rocco Becht, elite quarterback. And what they can do is wave that $4 million price tag in their face. What we have learned in the last few weeks, go back to Rob Wright at Baylor, who left Baylor for BYU, that $3.5 million price tag, they waved that in his face, and his dad reportedly was the one who said, nope, need it, got to have it, let's go. I don't know Rocco Becht's dad. I don't know Sam Leavitt's dad. I don't know their agent. I don't know where exactly their situation will fall and how much money they can turn down. Look, if tomorrow, I have a job with Locked On Big 12. If tomorrow I was offered $500 million to go work for Locked On SEC, I'd probably take the Locked On SEC job, right? There's a price for everyone, for everything. If $4 million takes away, I don't know what Leavitt's making right now. What if it is $1.5 million? $4 million is a lot more than that. That's a lot more million. So there's an opportunity, and Tennessee fans are tweeting up a storm about that name, Sam Leavitt at Arizona State, and how they can pull him away. Cam Scadaboo didn't do it. He proved you can be elite there. He proved you can go to the college football playoff there. Jordan Tyson elected to stay, even though there were rumors of him going to Florida. He is still a wide receiver in the arsenal of Sam Leavitt. I think if Leavitt leaves, Tyson might do the exact same thing because he's losing an elite quarterback. Take Becht off the table right now. I think Avery Johnson, Sam Leavitt would be the top two that Tennessee throws their hat in the ring for, especially because Leavitt's got at least two more years in Knoxville or Tempe, wherever he stays.
Yeah, I think what's so tough about this, and I like going back to Nico for just a little bit, and then maybe we'll jump back to Big 12 and then move on. I think do you have an opinion on Tennessee not allowing this, because I think it's great for college football that they basically said, like, hey, we're not playing this game. I did a video before he left when it was just kind of like he had missed practice, and my gut then was that they were going to fold. They were going to bend. We saw this a couple of years ago with Tyler Van Dyke in Alabama. He kind of, I saw a lot of Miami fans, and I know they tune into this and they actually like me on this channel, but I saw a lot of Miami fans like, yeah, like this would never happen here. And I'm like, hold up. It might never happen again. Like, Mario does seem like he has tightened up his stance on this, and so credit to him for that. But this did happen at Miami. It happened very publicly in Tallahassee. It just wasn't with a quarterback. It was with some defensive linemen that jumped in the portal and then ended up coming back out because we paid them more, whatever. This happens. I like that Tennessee did not allow this. I think it would have been a bad precedent to continue to set, because it's happened before in college football. And I'm hoping, you look at some of the rumors of where Nico may land, UNC, Tulane, UCLA, none of these are, I mean, I guess Tulane is kind of a playoff contender just because of, you just have to be the best group of 5 team. And with Nico, they certainly are, but not a championship contender, right? I'm thankful almost to a fault that Notre Dame's not jumping into this. Ohio State's not jumping into this. USC's not jumping into this. Not that I think USC's a serious contender, but they have a lot of talent out there for sure. I'm glad that this is not being honored by other coaches. Now, a place where Belichick's at, a place like UCLA, Tulane, yeah, you gotta go all in any of those kind of places where you are. But I'm thankful that, listen, players are going to do what they want to do. Teams are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I'm glad that the bluff was called and they said, hey, dog, you're not worth it. We're not going to get publicly dragged through the mud like this, and good luck elsewhere.
Yeah, Tennessee says go. And I don't think that Nico is necessarily upset with that, because now he's got an opportunity to make more money. And if money was the ultimate goal here, not winning a championship, then money's probably what he's going to get. I imagine now he'll start shopping those jobs. That's what this is. It's a job. North Carolina might be the school willing to pony it up. However, what really hurt him, TJ, and I do want to get your thoughts on this. It seems like the public perception of Nico, who could have been a preseason Heisman contender in some people's books, led his team to the college football playoff last year, starting for an SEC school. That public perception has changed into what a bad quarterback, what an overrated quarterback, what a diva. And I believe that's going to hurt him when he gets in these negotiations. He has less power than what he perceives as we speak. And I think then if you're Sam Levitt, if you're Rocco Beck, if you're Avery Johnson, you say, look, and come on, come give me an offer for $4 million. And then his camp from there can leverage with the Arizona State or the Kansas State NIL collectives and say, he's got a $4 million offer from Tennessee. Are you willing to keep him? How much are you willing to give him? And I don't know these kids' characters. I don't know if they're willing to stay, but let's think about it this way. In a job, if you've got another offer, if somebody else calls you and says, hey, we'll give you $1 million extra, you would be silly to not at least look at it. Yeah. This isn't really necessary. I'm either at Deloitte or KPMG. Okay, I'm making $1 million at Deloitte. KPMG offers me $2 million. You're probably just leaving without asking any questions. But no one's going to look at you and say, "Oh, you weren't loyal to Deloitte. You weren't loyal to that CPA firm or wherever you're working." They're going to say, "Oh, you took the better opportunity." So you look at Avery Johnson or Sam Levitt or Nico and say they hate their school and they're such a brat, and they're just kind of employees of. Right. They're employees of a football program doing what's best for them.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with Nico going somewhere and getting more money. I don't at all. I said this on Double Fries yesterday, but if somebody was to offer me $2 million a year to cover Akron football, I would immediately change that. I might move that football over. We'd still pay a little respect to Bobby, but I'd put an Akron football up there tomorrow. Yeah. Now, I'd still cheer for FSU. Yeah, but here's and so I don't think Nico's a bad guy by any means. I think his dad getting mixed up in the middle of it, the way it kind of went down publicly, it happening at the end of spring, and I mean, shoot, there was a portal window in December. We could have saved a lot of this drama. I think that is all a bad PR look for him, and I do agree. It hurts his negotiating with other schools. Tulane, I don't think, has $4 million to throw at him, right, if that's where he ends up. So I agree with all that. Where I think the real problem is Tennessee was not going to land Nico if not offering him an outrageous $8+ million NIL package as a high schooler, right? And I mean, USC was absolutely, he was staying somewhere there in California, probably USC from the people that I've spoken with. And I do have a lot of respect for guys like Kirby Smart and others who are still very relational. And I like Josh Heupel a lot. This is not a shot at him or Tennessee or anything like that. We do really well with our Tennessee followers on this channel. But I do think it's a lesson that when things are more transactional than relational, that's where you get into a lot of trouble. And so Nico was offered $8 million plus as a high schooler to come and play 4 years at the University of Tennessee. It's not a surprise that 3 years in, when the market's changed and he sees Mensa over at Duke making $4 a year, he doesn't say like, dude, I'm better than Mensa.
Yeah.
Like, I know that we've all joked and said like, well, Nico wasn't even that good this year. Why is he asking for more money? He was better than that guy, right? Or he looks around the market and says like, look what Beck just got at Miami. Like, I'm worth more money. But when it's transactional and not relational, that's the issue. And I think that's a lesson for everybody. Yeah, it's great. It's great to flex a huge recruiting win and a huge, hey, we got money here at BYU or Florida State or Ohio State. Or we won this battle because we're rich. That's great. Yeah, that is great for winning that battle. But if there's not a relationship that it's based on, it's always transactional. And I'm not saying Nico's a bad guy. Listen, I would take the money. I would absolutely be negotiating for more money because truth be told, I don't care about any of these teams except for one, right? And so if I was playing somewhere else, I wouldn't care at all. And if I have kids that are blessed enough to somehow play college sports, we're going to be in the same boat too. But I do think that's why relationships are so smart. And Kirby's talked about it. Others have talked about it. They really build that relationship first, and then NIL, they take care of their guys. Nobody on Georgia's roster is underpaid. Nobody on Ohio State's roster is underpaid, right? So they take care of their guys, but they very much focus on the relationship part. And that's where I think maybe Tennessee has a life lesson to learn about that going forward.
No doubt. And this is hopefully in a year's time, kind of a moot point in college athletics. And we realized that was the last time that headline made shockwaves across college football because something has been put in place to avoid this situation or at least make it cleaner where kids can't make as strong demands or universities can't kick somebody to the curb because it will be abused by a university who kicks somebody who's a quality player to the curb, and it will be abused by a player who thinks they can make more money and ends up broke.